Elizabeth Manley.
Hold on, do I look too dark to you, or am I okay?
You look gorgeous, like
Okay.
flawless.
Oh, you're so sweet. Hi.
I'm sure this happens to you all the time, but like Elizabeth, this is such an honor.
Oh, thank you. That means so much.
So hello, everyone. This is Robyne, and today's a very, very big day where I have a chance to connect with one of the most extraordinary Canadians, somebody who I have looked up to for a very long time. And I also had the honor of actually sharing an advanced copy of the new book, Calm Within the Storm, with the one and only Elizabeth Manley. And so I asked her, and she graciously accepted to jump on a call with me today. This is the first time I have ever had a two-way conversation with Miss Manley. I have called and cheered for her most of my life from the sidelines. I remember being in sporting venues, and I remember watching Miss Manley at the '88 Olympics in Calgary. I was a little girl, actually not that little, full disclosure, sitting on the carpet, watching that happen, watching the Battle of the Bryans, watching Elizabeth take the ice for her long program, and just being awe-inspired that someone could take all of that nervousness, all of that pressure. An entire country was cheering her on, and she was able to deliver. She came in clutch. And I remember thinking, the person who can have the weight of the world on their shoulder and still be able to do what she did was extraordinary. And I still remember the look when she finished her program and literally held her face. And I remember mirroring that expression of just knowing that I watched something pretty extraordinary. And just to make Miss Manley even more embarrassed, I'm afraid to do so, I want to show her my favorite Liz Manley jacket that I have had. It was a gift I was given when I was much younger. And I was telling Miss Manley while we were preparing for the call that this is in the box. I've moved a bazillion times, and this is in the box with like things that can't get lost. So it's not allowed to go with the movers. This has to be in my car along with some other treasures. So without further ado, everyone, I can't believe I get to do this. Welcome.
Thank you, Robyne. Thank you.
Oh,
you're getting me all teary, and this is a pleasure, and it's interesting because I'm excited to meet you. So it shows where our lives go. I'm so appreciative to be doing this with you today. I really am.
Well, thank you. And I know you said I can call you Liz, which oh my goodness. So Liz, without further ado, I'm going to start asking you a few questions. Okay. So what we're doing is part of the book launch is we are going to be asking some of our endorsers and key people to have a little bit of a conversation. My book is about everyday resiliency, like you know. So I'm going to ask you just a couple little questions here. And the first one is, I'm so curious about, what does a day of Elizabeth Manley look like? What does it look like? What's your day look like?
Well, do you mean years ago or right now?
Right now. I know, in this very moment, what does an Elizabeth Manley day? Now, I know you have a great following on Instagram, and I love your cats. And so I see those little vignettes, but tell me what a day's like for you.
Well, I am living my passion right now, and I kind of get teary because, I've always been a skater. My whole life has been about skating. And what happens is we feel like we are expected to stay in what we know and stay in what we've done our whole lives. And I have, found a lot of passion in speaking and working with mental health. Many people know my story about being diagnosed with depression and anxiety and quitting skating 4 years before the Olympics and coming out of that and really being resilient and getting through it. And I began to really be one of the first athletes to really open up about depression and what goes on in the sporting world. And I remember when I did it, it was kind of brushed under the carpet a little bit. The stigma was really at its highest in the 80s. So, to make a very long story short, I have just embraced the want to work with people. So, I got really involved with the mental health field, do a lot of charity work and things like with it. And I decided to go back to school and get my certification as a life coach. So, a day for me right now is, yes, I have a puppy on the floor here, I have a kitten over here, and I work with people on a daily basis. I have clients that I work with all week, which is on top of speaking and doing virtual talks. But I am passionately really working with people and helping them through tough times. And as we know right now, this has been a very rough year for a lot of people. And when I get off a call with a client, just even if I can make their day better, that's what's important. And so I feel like I'm going to break your heart right now, but I've
I'm
left.
okay. I'm prepared.
Yeah, I've left the skating world
Yeah.
because I'm finding this is my true passion right now, where I am today, and that is helping people. And I'm not saying I don't get on the ice or do the odd thing, but I'm not coaching 8 hours a day on the ice, which we couldn't anyways with rinks closed with COVID. But this is my dream. This is my dream, and I think it was meant for me to do this.
Yeah. I love that. That's a remarkable response. Thank you. And what I think about is the fact that we have seasons, right? There was a season where you were an Olympian, you were an athlete, you were giving so much to so many different people and places with your sport. And then there went through that kind of season where you're really advocating for mental health, really becoming a trailblazer when it came to talking about mental health in sport. Again, before a lot of folks were doing that. Now in this next kind of season, now you are finding another way to be of service. And, I feel as though every season is preparing us for the next season.
You're right. And that is one of the most important things that people need to know. And you're very good at this too, but you can't be afraid of change.
Yeah.
And, change, we need to do change in order to live that balanced, peaceful type life. Right. And this change has been great for me. And, another reason too, is I really don't think I could get my butt into a skating dress right now, but that's okay. Right.
Yeah. COVID reality. Yeah. No shame. It's all good.
I just feel I have, a story. I have a history with depression, anxiety. I was very open about it way before people were ready. And I'm just really blessed to be in a place right now that we are talking about it.
Yes.
And we're being open about it. And it may have taken years, to break through that wall of stigma. We still have a long ways to go, but we are finally opening that door for people to understand that it's okay.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Now, my next question I'm curious about, and I appreciate that you've already shared about some of those setbacks, and I really see how your setbacks were really a setup for this next adventure that you are on. I'm curious, where did you find those, like that support or those resources? Like, what for you was that whether it be people or experiences that really helped you find that next level, that what we know we need when we're practicing resiliency. Resiliency is hard. I'm curious about where do you find that next level?
It's not being afraid to ask for help. And, I was, back when I was diagnosed, I was a 16-year-old girl. I had lost all my hair. People just kind of closed doors on me because they thought I was done, and I suffered from a mental health issue. And, the stigma was so high that people, they weren't knowledgeable. They didn't understand it. And that was really hard on me. I lost a lot of my support because they were afraid of me. They were afraid how to talk to me, what to say to me, things like that. And there's an amazing psychologist in Ottawa, Dr. Terry Orlick, who's very, very famous. He's more famous for being a sports psychologist. But he worked with me outside of the sport. And without him, I really don't know if I'd be sitting here today, because I was that typical teenager sitting on the side of the bed, had lost all my hair, nervous breakdown and everything. And the thoughts of suicide were there. And this is what we see today. People feel there's no way out.
Mhm.
And I remember being offered the help and pro bono, because we said we couldn't afford it. I was with my mom alone, and he said, no, I want to help you, pro bono. I believe in you. And it was the words that he said, I believe in you. That turned into the first session, which turned into hundreds, which turned into me getting the medal in Calgary 4 years later, because I found myself through it. And this is what people need to do. They need to surround themselves with support and positivity. And I hate using this word because it seems harsh, but you have to be selfish.
Yes. Yeah.
You really do. You have to be selfish, and you have to take care of yourself. And if that means letting go of some people in your life who aren't fulfilling, what your needs are at that moment, or you're not feeling the support from them, or they have, other, reasons to be wanting to be around you. And you can imagine me, I was a famous skater and everything, right? But I really had to kind of cut my list down and just surround myself with love and support, and understand that I can actually be someone that can talk about my feelings.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
It's a remarkable
Yeah.
story. It's a
Thank you.
remarkable story to share. And it's interesting though, that notion of selfish, because as a scholar who studies resiliency and wellness, I often tell folks it's self-care and looking after ourselves. It's not selfish, it's science. We can't look after other people if we're depleted, or worse, if we're not here. And,
Exactly.
and I find if people really struggle with getting the help that they need, what I really encourage them is to say, what are you modeling for the young girls in your life? And
Exactly.
you can't do it for you, because that feels selfish in our culture, and we've been conditioned to get selfish. I want you to move that over to this perspective of what are you modeling for your nieces, your daughters, and of course our boys as well. But I don't want my daughter growing up in a world where exhaustion is recognized as success, or mental health is something we don't talk about. So I was able in my own recovery, especially when I became a mother, to be able to say this might not be for me, because that did feel abnormal, just because in our culture we aren't supposed to look after ourselves first. We're supposed to look after everyone else. But I wanted a different experience for Ava Leslie. And it's interesting. We used to always talk about this idea where I recall my mother would always eat the burnt toast, Liz. And I know that sounds so silly because like if she burnt the toast in the toaster, she's like, oh, I'll take that piece. And she would always make me a new piece. And I remember saying to myself, I was like, Mom, I want you to have a piece of toast that's not burnt. And she said, no, I'm fine. And I remember she said to me next, but she said, you make sure you and your daughter don't have burnt toast. Like she was kind of setting that stage for us. And I know that's so simple and nothing in comparison.
But it means
matters
so much. It means so much. And it's interesting, when my father passed away, I did his eulogy, and I talked about dash in life, what his dash in life was. And that's another way to look at it. How do you want people to remember you? And do they want to remember you as being happy and at peace and, fun to be around? Or do you want them to remember you where you didn't have a time of day for anybody because you were just so busy and you were stressed and everything? And it's interesting because I've actually run into people and I see them so stressed out now. And I look at my husband and I go, was I that bad? And my husband looks at me and goes, you were 10 times worse.
Because you're top level. Like Elizabeth, she's a champ. If we're going to be frazzled, I'm going to be the best frazzled Elizabeth that I can be. I love it. That is so good. Now, in the book, we talk about, and I write about this concept of everyday resiliency. It's the little things about showing up every day that is going to come to us to be able to build this capacity. So one of the questions I always get to ask people, or I love to ask people, is, what does everyday resiliency mean to you or look like to you? What does everyday resiliency look like to you?
Well, it started with me calling you last week, but no.
True story. Totally true story. Yeah.
No, it actually, resiliency for me is, we're always going to have bad moments.
Yes.
We're always going to have tough times. And it's taking, I love using the term respond, don't react.
Ooh, yeah.
Step back and take a moment and then understand what you've been through. You know, every day isn't going to be perfect. And so what I do is when I have days where it's really bad, I either reach out to somebody. I reached out to you.
Yeah.
Felt comfortable enough. I needed to reach out to you because I had a bad week last week.
Yeah.
But I'll do something for me.
Yeah.
Sometimes I call it PP day, and that's poodles and pajamas. I take my poodle and I stay in my pajamas and I have a me day. Yeah. And I decompress, because when things don't go right in our lives, it usually means we're overstressed or we're overwhelmed, or we can't think straight. And I've learned a lot about that as a life coach. And I feel now I take those steps and I just step back and I just take a breath. And one thing I'm really big into now is meditation. I will meditate 2 or 3 times a day. I'll just take that moment and close my eyes, whether it's 5 minutes or whether it's an hour. And you need to just kind of decompress. So, I find that is what my resilience is every day, is understanding, okay, I have a problem. How am I going to fix it? I'm too upset or overwhelmed right now. So I'm going to step back, I'm going to take a breath, and then tomorrow I'll make those steps to try to fix that and make it work. And it usually does. It usually helps. And what I, called you last week and what you said to me, everything's fine now. It's like everything is really good. Yeah. But that's what resilience is. It's not allowing the universe to control you. Does that make sense?
Oh, it sure does. Yeah. There's so much wisdom in your words.
Yeah. The universe is here and is leading each and every one of us in the direction we need to be. And when something doesn't work out, I truly believe it's meant to happen to put us on a different road to where we're supposed to be going. And, my whole life, my whole Olympic career, everything, that was about it. And I remember my mom used to say, honey, it's all going to pay off, I promise. And I'd be this little kid stamping my feet crying, going, when's it going to happen? And it was like, when is it going to happen? And you know what, that night in Calgary, I've always said this to people about, yes, it was an Olympic medal. It was every athlete's dream, but it was a medal in life for me. It was a medal in life. And when I speak and I talk to people on that, I tell everyone everyone can have a medal in life. Yeah. You have to believe in yourself. You have to understand your needs. And so my Olympic medal, it's not hanging up. I do have stuff hanging up, but my Olympic medal's up in my underwear drawer. But you know what? Because it's so much more to my family than an Olympic medal. Yeah. It's a medal in life.
Yeah. I'm just speechless, like really, really a loss of words. And it's interesting because the very first chapter in my book, I start with my car accident, which felt scary, and it isn't necessarily where I wanted to start, but that is where we started. And the very first kind of chapter idea is that I can do hard things. And that idea that I can do hard things changed my life. It saved my life. And it has put me on a big, bright trajectory. I never in my wildest dreams imagined were going to be available. And hearing you talk about your night in Calgary, what that makes me feel is that, that was your moment where all of a sudden your soul realized Elizabeth can do hard things. And that's what you did and lived the rest of your life. So
And
Miss
that's how we
Manley.
need to live. And that's how we all need to live.
Yes.
You know, we need to realize when we're up against a wall and it's something really difficult, understand that there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And, I have a big plaque on my desk that I want to share with you. And it said, "The world told me to be invisible, and all I heard was invincible."
Oh,
And I live by that today.
yeah.
And I can get through anything. And it's the same with you with the accident. And I still can't believe how blessed you are to still, be alive.
Yeah.
But sometimes it takes moments like that in our lives to kind of wake us up and realize who we are.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I can tell you, you are extraordinary. So Miss Manley,
You are too.
thank you. Thank you. This has been very special. And it's one of those things where in my wildest dreams, I would have like held this idea that I could chat with Elizabeth Manley. And so thank you. Merci. And I'm going to stop our video, but I just want to say, everyone, thank you so much. And this woman makes difference, and this woman changes lives. So thank you.
And you do that as well. So I would like to say to everyone, please get this book, because it'll change your life. It really will. Sometimes we need these stories to just make us aware of how lucky we all have it,
Thank you. Right back at you.